The human fleet returned home in silence. There were no celebrations, no victory parades, no songs of triumph. The soldiers put away their weapons and returned to their normal lives. The ships of the sleeper fleet flew back to their hiding places in the dark spaces between stars. Admiral Yuna Kim did not feel like a hero. She felt tired. She held her daughter's hand as their transport ship approached New Bazan. Sue had fallen asleep against her shoulder. Exhausted from everything she had been through, Jin Kim was waiting at the landing platform when they arrived. He had not slept in days. His eyes were red from crying. When the door opened and he saw his wife carrying their daughter, he fell to his knees and sobbed. The family held each other for a long time. No words were needed. They were together again. That was all that mattered. Similar scenes happened on every human world. 11 other families welcomed their children home. Parents who had thought they would never see their children again now held them close and promised to never let go. The galaxy watched in confusion. They had expected humans to demand things: territory, resources, power. That was what conquerors did. That was what empires did after winning a war. But humans asked for nothing. 1 week after the rescue, a meeting was held on the neutral world of Centra Station. Representatives from every major species attended. They wanted answers. They wanted to understand what had happened. Admiral Kim was asked to speak on behalf of humanity. She stood before thousands of alien faces, her uniform simple and undecorated. Commander Day Park stood behind her, along with Captain Han Lee and Lieutenant Mira Beek. "You want to know why we did what we did?" Admiral Kim began. "You want to know how we did it? You want to know what we want now?" The alien representatives leaned forward, waiting. 300 years ago, when humans first came to the stars, we made a choice. We saw the galaxy. We saw the wars of the past. We saw species destroying each other over territory and resources. We decided we did not want to be part of that. She paused, looking around the room. We built weapons. We built ships. Then we hid them. We told our children to forget how to fight. We hoped that if we forgot war, we would find peace. And for 300 years, it worked. We became farmers and traders and teachers. We were happy. Her voice grew harder. Then the Velen Empire reminded us who we really are. They took our children. They thought we would do nothing because we had no visible weapons. They were wrong. A Velen representative stood up. "Admiral Kim, on behalf of the Velen Empire, we apologize for what was done. It was a terrible mistake. We did not understand." Admiral Kim looked at him. "No, you did not understand. But now you do. Now everyone does." She addressed the whole room again. "Humans do not want war. We do not want power over others. We do not want to rule the galaxy. We want to live in peace. We want to raise our families. We want to grow old watching our children grow up. But hear me clearly. Touch our families again. Hurt our children again. Threaten those we love again. And you will see something far worse than what happened to the Velen fleet. We held back. We were merciful. We only destroyed those who stood between us and our children." Her eyes swept across every face in the room. "Next time, we will not hold back. Next time, there will be no mercy. Because humans protect what they love. That is not a weakness. That is our greatest strength." She sat down. The room was silent. Later that day, every major species in the galaxy signed a new agreement. It was called the Children's Accord. It stated simply that no species would ever take, harm, or experiment on the children of another species. The penalty for breaking this accord would be severe. No one doubted that humans would enforce it. 6 months passed. Life returned to normal on New Bazan. The farms grew rice again. The schools opened. Children played in the fields. The scars of that terrible night slowly healed. Admiral Kim resigned from the Defense Force. She went back to being a teacher. She taught history to young children. Sometimes, when students asked about the war with the Velans, she would smile sadly. It was not really a war, she would say. It was a reminder. A reminder of what? The children would ask. That humans are gentle because we choose to be gentle. That we are kind because we choose to be kind. And that when someone threatens our families, we remember what we truly are. Commander Day Park retired as well. He spent his days fishing and reading books. He never spoke about what he had seen. Some memories were too heavy to share. Captain Han Lee returned to training new soldiers. He taught them the old ways, the ancient knowledge of human combat. But he also taught them something else. The greatest victory is the one you never have to fight, he would tell his students. Be strong so you can be peaceful. Be dangerous so you can be kind. Then Mirabeek became a pilot instructor. She flew cargo ships again, traveling between human worlds. Sometimes she would look out at the stars and remember how it felt to fly through enemy fire. She hoped she would never have to do it again. On Vel Prime, Emperor Torvax stepped down from his throne. He was too old and too broken to lead anymore. A new generation of Valans took power. They were different from their elders. They had learned humility. They had learned that peace was not something they owned. It was something they shared. The new Velan leaders sent gifts to the human worlds, not as payment or apology, but as a gesture of friendship. They asked if humans would teach them about their culture, their history, their way of life. Some humans said no. The wounds were too fresh. But others said yes. Slowly, carefully, the two species began to build something new. Not the false peace of the past, where one species thought it ruled over others, but a real peace, based on respect and understanding. Years passed. Sue Kim grew up to be a starship captain. She explored distant worlds and met strange new species. Everywhere she went, she heard stories about her mother, the human admiral who had challenged an empire, the mother who had moved stars to save her child. Sue never bragged about it. When people asked her about the Velan War, she would shrug. My mother did what any parent would do, she would say. She came to bring me home. And that was the truth of it. Behind all the weapons and ships and battles, it was a simple story. A mother loved her daughter. Someone took that daughter away. The mother went to get her back. Humanity had not wanted to show the galaxy what they could do. They had been happy living quietly among the stars. But when they were pushed, they pushed back. When their children were threatened, they became something ancient and terrible. Admiral Yuna Kim died at the age of 92, surrounded by her family. Her last words were to her daughter, now a grown woman with children of her own. Protect them, she whispered. Protect them with everything you have. That is what being human means. Sue held her mother's hand and promised she would. Across the galaxy, the story of the human mother and the stolen children became a legend. It was told around fires and in schools and in the halls of great empires. Every species knew the lesson it taught. Humans were peaceful. Humans were kind. Humans were generous and curious and full of wonder. But humans were also something else. They were parents. They were families. They were bonds of love that could not be broken. And anyone foolish enough to threaten, those bonds would learn a truth that the Velans had learned. 15,000 years of peace could die in a single moment. All it took was someone stealing human children. The galaxy never forgot. And no one ever made that mistake again. The story ended. But humanity continued. Peaceful, quiet, gentle. And always ready. Because that was what it meant to be human. To hope for peace. To work for peace. To live for peace. but to fight like the stars themselves were burning when peace was not enough. Velprime had never been attacked. In 15,000 years of Velan history, no enemy had ever reached their homeworld. The cities in the clouds were built for beauty, not defense. The people had never known fear. Now fear filled every street. The human fleet hung in orbit like a dark cloud. 40,000 ships surrounded the planet. Every Velan looked up and saw death waiting above them. Families held each other. Children cried. Old ones prayed to gods they had almost forgotten. Emperor Torvax sat on his crystal throne, but he no longer felt like a ruler. He felt like a small creature trapped by a much larger predator. "We must negotiate," he said to his remaining advisors. "Contact the humans. Tell them we will return the children. Tell them anything they want to hear." An advisor stepped forward. "Hi, Emperor, we have tried. The humans are not responding to any messages. They are simply waiting." Waiting for what? No one knew. In orbit, Admiral Yuna Kim was indeed waiting. She stood on her bridge, watching the planet below. Her face was stone. Her heart was fire. "The landing teams are ready," Captain Han Li reported. 500 soldiers. "Best we have. The children's location?" Admiral Kim asked. "Northern Research Complex, underground, 3 levels of security. Estimated Velan guards, 2,000. 2,000. Admiral Kim turned to look at Han Li. "Take 50 soldiers. That will be enough." Han Li did not question the order. He understood. Human soldiers were not like other soldiers. They had been trained with knowledge passed down from ancient times. Knowledge of how humans fought before they chose peace. Lieutenant Myra Beak powered up her landing craft. It was a small, fast ship designed to slip through defenses. Behind her sat the 50 soldiers of the rescue team. They wore black armor and carried weapons that hummed with energy. Admiral Kim joined them. She wore armor like the others, but she carried no weapon. "Admiral," Commander Park said over the communication channel, "you should stay on the flagship. Let the soldiers handle this." "My daughter is down there," Kim replied. "I will bring her home myself." The landing craft dropped from the flagship and dove toward the planet. Velan defense systems tried to lock onto it, but the ship was too fast, too small. Mirabeek flew like she was born in the stars. She dodged missiles and beams with movements that seemed impossible. 10 minutes to landing zone, she announced. Below them, the Northern Research Complex sat in a valley surrounded by mountains. It looked peaceful from above. Silver buildings, green gardens. No one would guess that children were being held prisoner inside. The Velan guards knew the humans were coming. They formed lines around the complex. They charged their weapons. They told themselves they were defending their empire's honor. They had never fought humans before. The landing craft touched down outside the complex. The door opened. Admiral Kim walked out first. Behind her came Captain Han Li and his 50 soldiers. The Velan guards opened fire. Energy beams filled the air. Any normal force would have been destroyed in seconds. But the humans moved like shadows. Their armor absorbed the beams. Their bodies flowed between attacks like water through rocks. Then they struck back. Human weapons did not make loud noises or bright flashes. They were quiet and precise. Each shot found its target. Velan guards fell without understanding what had hit them. The battle moved from the outside to the inside of the complex. Captain Han Li led the way through corridors and rooms. Velan soldiers came at them again and again. It did not matter. The humans cut through them like a blade through paper. Admiral Kim stayed in the center of the group. Her eyes scanned every room, every corner. She was looking for one thing only: a small face, a pair of eyes like her own. "Lower level," Han Li said. The children should be in the research wing. They found a heavy door sealed with electronic locks. A Velen scientist stood before it, shaking. "Please," the scientist begged. "The children are not harmed. We only wanted to study them. We meant no evil." Admiral Kim walked up to the scientist. She was shorter than him by half, but somehow she seemed to tower over him. "You took children from their parents," she said quietly. "You locked them in cages. You treated them like animals to be examined. And you say you meant no evil?" The scientist had no answer. "Open the door," Admiral Kim ordered. The scientist opened the door. Inside was a large room with comfortable beds and toys scattered on the floor. 12 children sat together in the center, huddled close. They looked scared but unharmed. And there, in the middle of the group, was Sue Kim. She looked up and saw her mother standing in the doorway. "Mama?" Sue whispered. She could not believe her eyes. Admiral Kim's stone face finally cracked. Tears ran down her cheeks as she rushed forward and took her daughter in her arms. "I am here," she said, her voice breaking. "I am here, my love. I came for you. I will always come for you." The other children were gathered by the soldiers. They were crying too, but now they cried with relief instead of fear. They were safe. They were going home. Captain Han Lee touched his communication device. Package secured. All 12 children recovered. No casualties among the children. On the flagship, Commander Park allowed himself a small smile. "Well done, Bun. Bring them home." But it was not over yet. As the team moved back through the complex, they found someone waiting for them at the exit. Emperor Torvax stood there alone. No guards, no weapons. Just an old Velen with 4 tired arms and empty eyes. "Admiral Kim," he said, "you have won. Take your children and go. The war is over." Admiral Kim handed Sue to one of the soldiers. She walked toward the Emperor until she stood right in front of him. "War?" she said. "You think this was a war? You attacked our fleet. You invaded our world. You killed our soldiers. What else would you call it?" Admiral Kim stared at him for a long moment. "A rescue mission. Nothing more. We never wanted to fight. We never wanted to kill. We only wanted our children back. Then why did you bring 40,000 ships? Why did you destroy our entire navy? Because you would not listen to a mother asking politely." Admiral Kim's voice hardened. "You looked at humans and saw weakness. You thought you could take whatever you wanted. You forgot something important." "What?" "Humans do not start wars. We end them." Emperor Torvax bowed his head. For the first time in 2,000 years, he felt truly old. "What do you want from us?" he asked. "Land? Resources? Power?" "I want you to remember this day," Admiral Kim said. "I want every species in this galaxy to remember. Humans are peaceful because we choose to be peaceful. Not because we are weak. Not because we are afraid. But because we know what we become when we stop being peaceful." She turned to leave, then stopped. 15,000 years of peace, she said, without looking back. You could have had 15,000 more. All you had to do was not touch our children. The humans left the complex and returned to their ships. The landing craft rose into the sky, carrying 12 children back to their families. On the ground, Emperor Torvax watched them go. He had ruled the galaxy for centuries. He had thought himself the most powerful being in existence. Now he understood how wrong he had been. The human fleet remained in orbit for 1 more hour. Then, without a word, they turned and flew away. They did not demand anything. They did not conquer anything. They simply left. But every Velen who watched them go knew the truth. The galaxy had changed forever. The old order was dead. And the species they had considered children had taught them a lesson. They would never forget, never touch what humans love, because humans will cross the stars, burn down empires, and break the universe itself to protect their own. And they will not stop until the job is done. The Velen border station was called Watchtower 9. It floated at the edge of Velen space, watching for any ships that might come too close. For thousands of years, nothing interesting had ever happened there. The soldiers stationed there were bored. They played games and slept and counted the days until they could go home. Officer Kelver was on duty when the alarm started screaming. He jumped from his chair and looked at his screens. What he saw made no sense. His instruments showed ships approaching. Many ships. More ships than he had ever seen in one place. This must be a mistake, he said to himself. He ran tests on his equipment. Everything was working correctly. The ships kept coming. Kelver sent a message to his commander. Sir, we have unknown vessels approaching. I count 30,000. No, 40,000. They are moving very fast. His commander laughed. 40,000 ships? Check your equipment again. No one has 40,000 ships except us. I have checked 3 times, sir. The ships are real. They will reach the border in 6 hours. The laughter stopped. Soon, every Velen station along the border was seeing the same thing. A wall of ships moving in perfect formation, heading straight for Velen space. General Corvin received the news in his office. He stared at the reports like they were written in a language he did not understand. Human ships? He asked. Are you certain? Yes, General. The design matches no known human vessels, but the signals are definitely human in origin. We count 42,000 warships of various sizes. They are not responding to any communication attempts. Corvin's 4 hands gripped his desk. Humans do not have a war fleet. They have cargo ships and small patrol vessels. Nothing more. Respectfully, General, the evidence suggests otherwise. For the first time in his long life, Corvin felt something he did not recognize. It took him a moment to understand what it was. Fear. He went to Emperor Torvax immediately. The old emperor listened to the report with a frown. Send our fleet to meet them, Torvax ordered. Show them the power of the Velen Empire. They will turn back when they see our strength. The Velen Grand Fleet was impressive. 5,000 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy. They had never lost a battle in 15,000 years. They moved to block the human advance. Admiral Corvin himself led the fleet. He stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Peace, and watched the human ships grow closer on his screens. Open a channel, he commanded. Tell them to stop and surrender, or we will destroy them. The message was sent. The human fleet did not slow down. They did not respond. They just kept coming. They are insane, Corvin muttered. Very well. All ships, prepare to fire. The Velen fleet formed a battle line. Their weapons charged. Corvin raised his hand to give the order to attack. Then the human fleet did something strange. The ships at the front slowed down and spread apart. A single vessel moved forward, alone. It was enormous. Bigger than anything Corvin had ever seen. Its hull was black and covered with weapons that glowed with blue fire. What is that? Corvin whispered. The black ship stopped. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a voice came through every communication channel in the Velen fleet. It was a woman's voice. Calm and cold. This is Admiral Yuna Kim of the Human Defense Force. You are blocking our path. Move aside, and you will not be harmed. This is your only chance. Corvin felt his fear grow, but his pride was stronger. Human, you are outnumbered. Your single ship cannot fight our entire fleet. Surrender now. I am not alone, the voice replied. And I did not come here to talk. I came here for my daughter. Move or be moved. Torvin gave the order to fire. Every Velen ship unleashed its weapons at the black human vessel. Beams of energy and missiles filled the space between them. It was enough firepower to destroy a small moon. The black ship did not dodge. It did not even try to avoid the attack. Instead, a field of golden light appeared around it. Every beam, every missile, every weapon hit that field and simply stopped. The energy scattered like water hitting a rock. Then the black ship fired back. A single beam of white light shot from its front. The beam hit the Velen flagship. The Eternal Peace, the proudest ship in the Velen Navy, broke apart in seconds. General Corvin did not even have time to scream. The battle lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, the Velen Grand Fleet no longer existed. 5,000 ships destroyed by a single human vessel. The rest of the human fleet had not even fired a shot. News of the defeat reached Vel Prime within hours. Emperor Torvax could not believe it. His hand shook as he read the reports. How is this possible? He demanded. How could humans have such technology? No one could answer him. The human fleet did not stop at the border. They moved through Velen space like ghosts. Every defense station they passed went silent. Every patrol ship vanished from sensors. But they did not attack cities or colonies. They did not bomb planets. They moved with a single purpose, heading straight for Vel Prime. On the human flagship, Admiral Kim studied the path ahead. Commander Park stood beside her. We could end this quickly, he said. Target their homeworld. Force them to surrender. Admiral Kim shook her head. We are not here to destroy them. We are here to get our children back. Nothing more. And if they do not give them back? The Admiral's eyes grew cold. Then we take them. And anyone who stands in our way will learn what happens when you steal from humanity. Captain Han Li and Lieutenant Mirabeek were on the bridge as well. Han Li commanded the ground forces that would rescue the children. Mirabeek would pilot the landing craft. The children are being held in a research facility on the northern continent of Vel Prime, Han Li reported. Heavy security. Underground bunkers. It will not be easy. Nothing about this is easy, Admiral Kim replied. But we did not come all this way to fail. Prepare your teams. We go in as soon as we reach the planet. Lieutenant Beak looked out at the stars streaming past. The Velens still do not understand, do they? They think this is about power, about territory, about war. No, Admiral Kim said softly. This is about something much simpler. A mother wants her child back. 11 other families want their children back. That is all this has ever been about. The fleet continued its journey. Behind them, they left the broken remains of Velen defenses. Ahead of them, a frightened emperor waited on his throne. Throughout the galaxy, other species watched in shock. The peaceful humans, the quiet traders, the simple farmers. They had become something else overnight. Something the galaxy had never seen before. A species that would burn down heaven itself to protect their children. On Vel Prime, the 12 human children were kept in comfortable rooms. They did not know what was happening outside. Young-Soo Kim sat by her window, looking up at the purple sky. Mama, she whispered. Where are you? She did not know that her mother was coming. She did not know that the largest fleet in human history was only hours away. She did not know that her mother had already destroyed the most powerful navy in the galaxy. All she knew was that she missed home. She missed her father. She missed her books about space. She closed her eyes and made a wish. A simple wish. A child's wish. She wished for her mother to find her in the darkness of space. Admiral Yuna Kim felt something warm in her chest. She did not know why, but she smiled for the first time in days. We are almost there, Sue, she whispered. Hold on just a little longer. Mama is coming. The fleet burst out of faster-than-light travel. Vel Prime appeared before them, beautiful and helpless. The final battle was about to begin. The Velan homeworld was called Vel Prime. It was a beautiful planet with purple skies and silver forests. Great cities floated in the clouds. The Volans had built their civilization over millions of years, and they believed it would last forever. High Emperor Torvax sat on his throne made of crystal. He was the oldest living Velan, nearly 2,000 years old. His blue skin had faded to almost white. His forearms rested on the sides of his throne. Around him stood his advisors and generals. They were discussing the humans. "The research on the children goes well," said Chief Scientist Millar. "Human young develop faster than we expected. Their brains show unusual patterns. We may learn much from studying them." "Good," said Emperor Torvax. "What of the human response?" "They sent polite messages asking for the children back," said an advisor. "We told them to wait. They have not responded since." Emperor Torvax smiled. It was a thin, cold smile. As expected. Humans are young and foolish, but they understand power. They know they cannot challenge us. The other Valans nodded. This was obvious to them. The Velan Empire had the largest fleet in the galaxy. Their weapons could destroy stars. No species had dared to threaten them in 15,000 years. Then a communication officer rushed into the throne room. His face was pale and strange. "High Emperor," he said, "we have received a message." "From the humans? Another request for their children?" Torvax asked, sounding bored. "No, High Emperor. It is different. It is addressed directly to you. From someone called Admiral Yuna Kim." Torvax frowned. He did not know this name. "Play the message." A hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed a human woman with short black hair and dark eyes. She stood in a simple room with gray walls. Her face was calm. Too calm. "High Emperor Torvax," she said. Her voice was soft but clear. "My name is Admiral Yuna Kim. You took my daughter 3 days ago. You took 11 other children as well. You believe you have the right to do this. You believe humans are too weak to stop you." She paused. Her eyes seemed to look directly at Torvax, even through the recording. "You have 72 hours to return every child to their families. Not harmed. Not touched again. If you do not, we will come for them ourselves. This is not a request. This is not a negotiation. This is your only warning." The hologram faded. The throne room was silent. Then, slowly, the Velans began to laugh. It started with one advisor, then spread to others. Even the general smiled. Emperor Torvax himself let out a dry chuckle. "A warning," said General Corvin, the highest military commander. "A human mother threatens the Velan Empire. How amusing. Should we respond, High Emperor?" asked an advisor. Torvax waved one of his 4 hands. "No, let them wait. Let them understand that their words mean nothing. In 72 hours, nothing will happen. Then they will learn their place." The Volans returned to their normal business. The message was forgotten. It was, after all, just words from a primitive species. But far across the galaxy, Admiral Yuna Kim was not waiting. She was working. The secret calls had reached every human world. Old soldiers came out of retirement. Engineers opened sealed buildings that had been closed for centuries. Codes were entered into systems that had never been activated. Admiral Kim stood in a vast underground room on Earth's moon. The room was dark, except for rows and rows of lights blinking on ancient machines. Commander Day Park stood beside her, along with Captain Han Lee and Lieutenant Mirabik. Captain Han Lee was a young man with a serious face. He had trained his whole life for combat that never came. Now, he finally understood why his training existed. Lieutenant Mirabik was small and quick. She was the best pilot in the human fleet, but she had only ever flown cargo ships. She looked at the machines around her with wide eyes. "I did not know any of this was real," she whispered. "The old stories. I thought they were just myths." Commander Park walked to a large console and placed his hand on it. The machines hummed louder. 300 years ago, when humans first left Earth, our leaders made a decision, he said. They saw the galaxy. They saw the Velen Empire and all the other powers. They realized that humans could fight or they could hide. They chose to hide, but not completely, Admiral Kim added. They built weapons, ships, systems. Then they put everything to sleep. They told the next generations to forget. They hoped the weapons would never be needed. Why? Asked Lieutenant Beak. Admiral Kim looked at her. Because our leaders knew what humans really are. They knew what we become when we fight. They hoped that if we forgot how to fight, we might learn to be peaceful instead. Did it work? Asked Captain Lee. For 300 years, yes. Humans have been farmers and traders and teachers. We've been kind to everyone. Admiral Kim's voice grew harder. But the Velens made a choice. They took our children. They reminded us what we are. She pressed a button on the console. All around the room, screens flickered to life. They showed ships. Thousands of ships. Hidden in asteroids. Buried on dead moons. Floating in the empty space between stars. Ships that had been sleeping for 300 years. The Sleeper Fleet, Commander Park said. 40,000 warships. Each one built with technology the galaxy has never seen. Technology our ancestors developed before they decided to forget how to fight. Captain Lee stared at the screens. These ships are older than the human space age. How are they still working? Because they were built to last forever, Park answered. And because humans never truly forget anything. The knowledge was always there, waiting. Lieutenant Beak pointed at one of the larger ships. What is that one? Admiral Kim allowed herself a small smile. That is the Hammer of Soul, a dreadnought. It can crack a planet in half with one shot. And the Velens have no idea these exist? No one does. Humans have kept this secret for 300 years. We played weak. We played peaceful. We let everyone think we were children. Admiral Kim turned to face her officers. The Velens think they are the guardians of peace. They think they rule the galaxy. They are about to learn that they were only guardians because we allowed it. The countdown continued. 72 hours became 60. Then 50. Then 40. On Velprime, the Velens continued their normal lives. Emperor Torvax ate fine meals and discussed art with his advisors. General Corvin reviewed his fleet with pride. No one thought about the human warning. On the human worlds, something very different was happening. Soldiers who had never seen war put on armor. Engineers who had studied ancient books brought old machines back to life. Pilots climbed into ships that their grandparents had hidden, and in her quarters on the moon base, Admiral Yuna Kim sat alone. She held a picture of her daughter Sue. In the picture, Sue was smiling, holding a book about space. I am coming, Admiral Kim whispered. Hold on, my love. I am coming. The clock continued to count down. 20 hours. 10 hours. 5 hours. The Velens did not send the children back. They did not believe the humans would do anything. They had made peace for 15,000 years. They had forgotten what it meant to be threatened by someone who meant every word they said. When the 72 hours ended, Admiral Kim stood on the bridge of her flagship. Around her, 40,000 ships came fully awake for the first time in 3 centuries. She opened a channel to all human forces. They chose not to listen, she said. Now we teach them why they should have. The Sleeper Fleet began to move. And the galaxy would never be the same. The galaxy had known peace for 15,000 years. Every species, every empire, every small colony world lived under the same simple rule. No war, no conquest, no violence between worlds. The Velen Empire had created this peace long ago, and they were proud of it. They believed they were the wisest beings in the universe. The Velens were tall creatures with pale blue skin and 4 arms. They lived for hundreds of years and thought very slowly about everything. To them, younger species were like children, foolish, emotional, dangerous if left alone. So the Velens watched over everyone. They called themselves the Guardians of Peace. Humans were new to the galaxy. They had only left their home planet 300 years ago. To the Velens, this was nothing. A blink of an eye. Humans spread quickly across many worlds, building colonies and farms and cities. They were friendly and traded with everyone, but they kept to themselves mostly. They had no great fleet, no powerful weapons. The Velens looked at humans and saw a simple species, harmless, weak, not worth much attention, on a small colony, world called New Bizin. Life was quiet and good. The planet had green hills and blue oceans. Farmers grew rice and vegetables. Children went to school and played in the fields. It was a peaceful place, far from the busy center of the galaxy. Admiral Yuna Kim lived on New Bizin with her family. She was 42 years old, with short black hair and sharp eyes. Long ago, she had served in the Human Defense Force, but there was never any real danger. Now she worked as a teacher and helped run the colony. Her daughter, Sue, was 8 years old. Sue had her mother's eyes and her father's smile. She loved to read books about space and dream about visiting other worlds. One warm evening, the children of New Bizin gathered for a school festival. There were games and food and music. Parents watched their children laugh and play. Admiral Kim stood with her husband, Jin, watching Sue dance with her friends. Everything was perfect. Then the sky changed. A great shadow fell over the festival. People looked up and saw a massive ship blocking the stars. It was not a human ship. The design was strange and old. Blue lights glowed along its surface. Before anyone could move, bright beams of light shot down from the ship. The beams touched 12 children and lifted them into the air. The children screamed. Parents ran toward them, but they could do nothing. The beams were too fast, too strong. In seconds, the children were gone, pulled up into the ship like fish caught in a net. Admiral Kim watched her daughter disappear into that light. She heard Sue call out for her, "Mama," then silence. The ship turned and flew away, faster than anything she had ever seen. For a long moment, no one moved. No one spoke. Then the screaming began. Parents fell to their knees. Fathers shouted at the sky. Mothers held each other and cried. Admiral Kim stood perfectly still. Her face showed nothing, but inside her chest, something changed. Something old and sleeping woke up. The colony sent messages to every human world. Within hours, all of humanity knew what had happened. The ship was identified. It belonged to the Velen Empire. The Guardians of Peace had stolen human children, though no one understood why. The Velens had never done anything like this before. Some people thought it was a mistake. Others thought the Velens wanted to study human children. A few wondered if it was a test. Admiral Kim did not care about why. She only cared about one thing: getting her daughter back. She traveled to Earth, the human homeworld. There she met with Commander Day Park, the head of Human Defense Forces. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had spent his whole career doing nothing because there was never any threat. Now he looked worried. "The Velens are too powerful," he told Admiral Kim. "We cannot fight them. We must ask them to return the children. We must be polite and patient. Admiral Kim looked at him. And if they say no? Commander Park had no answer. Messages were sent to the Velen homeworld. Human leaders asked for a meeting. They asked for the children to be returned. They used kind words and showed respect. The Velens did not respond for 3 days. When they finally answered, their message was short. The human children are being studied. They are not harmed. They will be returned when our research is complete. This may take several years. Do not contact us again about this matter. Several years. Admiral Kim read those words and felt the cold thing inside her grow colder. Her daughter would grow up in a cage, surrounded by aliens who saw her as a thing to study. A lab animal. A curiosity that other parents received the same news. Some cried. Some begged for more talks. Some gave up hope. But Admiral Kim did none of these things. She went to Commander Park and spoke quietly. "There is another way," she said. Commander Park looked at her for a long time. He understood what she meant. Every human knew the old stories, even if they never talked about them. Stories about what humans really were, what they could really do. "If we do this," he said slowly, "the peace ends." 15,000 years gone. Admiral Kim thought about her daughter. She thought about Sue reading books about space. She thought about her voice calling out in the dark. "They ended it," she said. "Not us." Commander Park closed his eyes. When he opened them, his tired look was gone. Something harder had taken its place. "I will make the calls," he said. That night, secret messages went out to every human world. Messages using codes that had not been used for centuries. Messages that woke up old soldiers and opened old doors. Messages that told humanity one simple thing. The time for peace was over. On New Bizon, Jin Kim stood alone in his daughter's empty room. He held one of her books and cried. He did not know what his wife was planning. He did not know that far across the galaxy, ancient machines were coming to life. Ships that had been sleeping in the dark places between stars were opening their eyes. He only knew that his daughter was gone, and that nothing would ever be the same. The Velens had made a terrible mistake. They had looked at humans and seen a young, weak species. They had not looked deeper. They had not asked why humans spread so fast across the stars. They had not wondered why humans had no great weapons. The answer was simple. Humans had no great weapons because they did not need them. They had something better. They had patience. They had memory. And they had rage. 15,000 years of peace died the moment they stole human children. The Velens just did not know it yet.